Good evening. The Hoover Board of Education meeting is now called to order. If you choose so, please join me in our invocation tonight, given by Mr. Brian Kane.
Will you please bow your heads? Lord, we thank you for tonight and time to meet and do what's right for kids. We ask your blessings on our nation at this time, places where there's just sadness and hurt and pain, Texas and Louisiana, Minnesota, and many other places. We ask your blessings on us at this time. And Lord, as people are looking around for what to do, just please help them to remember to look up for who can tell us what to do so that we can get our direction from you. Lord, I ask your blessings on our board, our superintendent, our central office, all of our faculty and staff, and our students and our parents in the school system. Help us to remember to put the light of children first in our world, because after that we can do all things that are right. Thank you for who you are, Lord, for what you mean to us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Kane. Would you please stand for our pledge? Salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before you have the agenda for tonight's board meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? The agenda is approved. We would like to acknowledge some special guests that we have tonight. Councilman Joe Reeves, Councilman Admiral Natter, Councilman John Lyda. Did I miss anybody else that walked in at the last minute? Okay, I'd also like to welcome all of our candidates that will be running for office in August. If you guys will please stand. I'm not going to acknowledge you individually because there's quite a few of you. Thank you guys. Also, to those of you joining us on our live stream tonight, we will have some PowerPoint presentations that will not be able to be seen during the live stream, but they will be posted to our school website upon the completion of our meeting. Dr. Dodson, it's time of recognition.
We have two recognitions this evening. First, I'd like to invite Coach Zowak from Spain Park High School, track and field, to share some news about his team at Spain Park. Coach Zowak.
You need to run up there, man.
I'm in the off season, so thank you for having us tonight. Thank you for recognizing the accomplishments of our team. I appreciate it. We've had a lot of success this year, and appreciate the opportunity to get in front of you guys and tell you about what we've done. We've had a great year. It's a testament to the hard work of several of our athletes, and I want to sort of look at it and give you guys an overview. They work hard all year long, and it's paid off for them. And the opportunity to stand here tonight and recognize that we've broken 16 school records, 2 state records. We've had 26 individuals earn all-state honors. We've had 1 athlete earn indoor All-American honors. And one of our teams has placed consistently in the top 5 in the state every season this year through cross-country, indoor, and outdoor. And that's a group effort in support of a lot of these guys and girls who work hard all year and even in the summer. So we began the year with our girls finishing 3rd in the state championship, the highest place we've ever been. And the indoor and outdoor boys teams finished 5th overall in the indoor season and the outdoor season. Individually, we have a few people here tonight that need to be recognized. If you guys will just come forward when your name is called, and we'll go there. First, middle distance runner Daniel Nixon set the state record in the 800 meter, both indoor and outdoor. He finished 2nd in the 400 meter dash as well, while also being an important leg on a few relay teams that earned medals as well. He earned All-American honors at the New Balance Indoor National Championship, placing 6th in the 800 meters, and also being invited to participate in the Brooks PR Invitational out in Seattle, Washington. And those are both, that's just a high-profile meet. I think it was 12 athletes from across the country are invited. So the fact that Daniel even made it from Spain Park is a testament to him and what he's done, and for our program setting the standard pretty high. Daniel will be attending Mississippi State next year to run. Next, we have thrower Damon Wright. He's a junior. while being an important part of our football team that has beaten Hoover twice this year. Sorry. Got to take my shots when I can. An important role there on the football team. He spends his off-season with us as one of the top shot putters in the state. Damon earned 3rd place indoors for the shot put, and he earned a second place finish outdoors. Damon's willingness to learn how to balance the demands of football and for training for track, actually the field. Damon's not a 2-miler, in case you were wondering. He enabled him to become an incredible dual sport athlete who's currently being recruited for both sports. So we'll see where he ends up after next year. Damon Wright. Our indoor season boys 4x400 meter relay team surprised the state with a 3rd place finish at the state meet. Under the leadership of assistant coach Trey Lee. Come on up, Trey. Trey joined us this year to work with our sprinters. He's a former athlete. He ran for me for 4 years and went to Auburn and has sort of guided the sprinters a long way. And like I said, he surprised them and finishing in the 4x4. Peyton, I think you were also on that team, and Danny was on that team. A few of the other members couldn't be here tonight. Come on up, Peyton, man. Even as an alternate, as a state team, outdoors, you've earned this, so you need the recognition as well, man. They were able to earn a spot on the podium and also set a state record, which they broke over and over again through the outdoor season. So those guys contributed to the 4x4 success. Sarah Sims McGrath. Her training partner actually had her wisdom teeth out tonight. And because they're both distance runners, they were determined to come. I told Zoe Shore to please not come. So Sarah Sims is going to be running next year at South Carolina. She led our girls to success over a never-before experience by our distance team. She's the one that led our cross-country team to the 3rd place finish this year. Earned all-state honors in all 3 seasons. She was 9th in cross-country. She was all-state in the 800, 1600, and 3200 in indoor and outdoor. So that success just carried on through all year. Christian Strong, hurdler. He's also a junior, established himself through his hard work and dedication as one of the best hurdlers in the state. Right, Christian? Okay. Christian has been heartbreakingly close to earning a podium spot in every hurdle event for which he competed. Let's see. From the 60-meter hurdles indoor to the 110 and 300-meter hurdles outdoor, Christian earned all-state honors in each of those events and will be back next year to claim his rightful spot on the top. So Christian's also a junior. Trey Robinson just walked in at perfect timing. Look at that. It's a man who knows how to make an entrance. Trey is a young man under the guidance of our sprint coach, Trey, has also been instrumental in leading our young sprint team. He propelled the young sprint team to reach success I couldn't have dreamed. And the fact that Trey's hard work and dedication in this sport and his leadership that has sort of established him has earned him a scholarship to go run at Cumberland University in Tennessee, where he will be training under 2 former professional track and field athletes, both who have made Olympic trials. These guys are excited about Trey's progress. He started with us last year, has earned quite a bit of recognition for those guys, and they are equally excited to have him join their program and actually start the track and field program up there. So these guys are just a highlight of our successes this year, and I thank you for the opportunity to be up here in front of you and sort of celebrate what they've done. And thank you for the time, and we certainly appreciate it.
I also want to recognize Coach Zelwak. In addition to being an outstanding track and field coach, he's one of the most outstanding English language arts teachers that we have in this district, and highly valued in the classroom as well as on the field. So thank you, Coach. Second recognition this evening, I'd like to invite Drs. Connor and Dr. Hickman to the podium. They're going to be recognizing one of our teachers this evening. So, Connor, I'll leave the podium to you.
Dr. Hickman and I are here in place as the members of our professional society, the Institute of Electrical Electronics Engineers, quite often referred to by its initials, I followed by 3 E's and pronounced IEEE. IEEE is the largest technical society in the world. Each year, as part of its worldwide awards program, IEEE honors a school teacher in the pre-university environment for their understanding and recognition in the education of mathematics, science, technology, and the engineering processes in the pre-university environment. This award carries with it a $1,000 cash award, a bronze and walnut plaque, and a $2,000 travel grant to the award ceremony, where the award is presented in November. I'm pleased to announce this tonight that this award is being presented to a Hoover school teacher for her work throughout K through 12 education at the elementary, middle school, and high school levels. This year not only distinguishes an important teacher within our system, but she becomes the second teacher in our system to win this award. And in my research, the only school system I could find throughout the United States or the world which has had 2 teachers win the award now is the Hoover school system, which I think speaks very highly of our academy program and what we're trying to accomplish in terms of especially STEM education. It's my pleasure tonight to announce that Scotty Austin Wilson, Director of the Engineering Academy at Spain Park, is this year's recipient, and I'd like to ask you to join me in recognizing her for this recognition.
I want to take just a moment to thank Dr. Connor for his support, also for Mr. G. And he said K through 12, and one thing that I believe is so important is the Hoover Foundation. So thank you to the foundation. Through your grants, we've been able to work with Rocky Ridge Elementary and Berry Middle School. So I cannot thank you enough to the committee, to the grant committee, for giving us the opportunity as teachers to write grants, but also just put that in place. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, there were 3 recognitions this evening. Mr. Bradford? You in the room?
George, will you come up? Tonight I'd like to recognize one of our seasoned veteran mechanics, George Pope. He came to Hoover City Schools in 2002 as a mechanic. During last month's competition in Mobile, the ASTCA competition, he actually won the first place for the Alabama School Bus Inspectors competition. So in winning this, he'll also have the chance to represent Hoover and Kansas City this fall. So we congratulate him on his win and also wish him the best of luck in the fall.
Thank you. Never gets old recognizing our students and employees and teachers. That's awesome. Congratulations to everybody. Now we have our time for public participation. Do we have any participation from the public? If you will, please state your name and your address at the beginning of your comments, please. Thank you.
My name is Jody Patterson. Been a resident of Hoover for almost 57 years. I live at 404 Trace Court. I have just got to tell you guys what a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for doing this. We did this when I was at Green Valley Elementary in the 1960s every morning, and we did it at the W.A. Berry High School in the 1970s every morning. And I remember great friends, great fun, great relationships, and very few problems. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Derek Murphy, 2351 Sunrise Way. How many minutes do we have to?
Don't worry, I have a button to.
Okay.
Well, got the hook.
To Mr. President, board members, Dr. Murphy, and everyone here, I'd like to thank the school district and for our second annual City of Hoover Dare Brigade. It will be on Saturday at 6:45. If you remember last year, we had 440 some volunteers, and we went to 10 elementary schools, and we did a lot of work. This year we are adding 3 middle schools and a intermediate school, and material will be dropped out by Thursday, Friday, and right now we have signed up close to 400. So that's not including churches and football team and basketball team. So we should get well about 500 kids and volunteers there. The good thing about it, come at 6:45, we will have breakfast for free. And so glad Zaxby is during the lunch, so we'll have lunch as well too. So thank you so much, and thank you for the support. And Dr. Murphy, myself, and also the manager of Home Depot shall be on Good Day, Alabama on Thursday. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Board members, you have before you the minutes from the regular scheduled board meeting of June 13th, 2016. Dr. Murphy?
Yes, board members, I would like to recommend that you approve the minutes as they're presented to you for June 13, 2016.
Motion to approve minutes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the board? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is personnel actions. Dr. Murphy?
Again, board members, I'd like to recommend that you approve our personnel report. We have 25 individuals who are being hired as a result of this report. 2 transfers, 3 change of status, which is change of leave, 4 leaves of absence, 12 resignations, 2 retirements. Again, I recommend that you approve the personnel report as presented.
Have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation to approve personnel actions.
Second.
Have a motion, then you have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Presley, are there any past Hoover District students here that were approved or what may be voted on tonight? Any of you that went to Hoover schools that are on the personnel report? Well, I know one, Preston Sanford, went to school with my daughter. So it's always great to see the kids go to school and come back in our district. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Personnel report is approved. Business action items, Dr. Murphy?
I'd like to share with you, board members, you have before you the May 31, 2016 report based on operations. This represents that we're 8 months into the fiscal year, which would have us being about 67% of our budget would be anticipated by this time. I am pleased to share with you that rather than 67%, we're at 63.24, so we're under that. I would like to share with you that a year to date, 2016, May 31st to last year, 2015, our expenditures are $2.78 million less comparable to this time last year. Based on our special revenue expenditures, again for 8 months into the fiscal year, we are slightly over where we would anticipate being, and that is based on some playground improvements and some additional C&P costs, particularly with the purchase of food. And as we all know, as we go to the grocery store, what the purchase of food looks like. So we're slightly over that. Would also share with you that on an average to run our school district is $11.4 million monthly. Our general fund balance as of May 31 is $95,342,160. You have the other items broken down for you. I'd like to recommend that you approve our monthly financial statement along with payroll and cash disbursements.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Though we're less in terms of comparison between last year we're less than projected, but we put some expenses down the road into this year. Is it fair to say don't anticipate too much off of this month's underage?
Yeah, please understand that this is just where we are at this time, and costs and expenses and things are variable. So yeah, please, we'll clap for this month. Next month I may come back with a different conversation, but yes.
We have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of approval of business action items.
So moved.
Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from our public? Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion, business action items are approved. I have a motion to consider the 2016-17 Student Code of Conduct. Dr. Murphy?
I would like to request that you approve our student code of conduct. We've invested a great deal of time and energy in reading and rereading and studying and researching. Our principals have been at the table with us to offer input, thoughts, and suggestions. They've been very productive. Board members, we've given you all an opportunity also to have a review of that. And at this time, I'd like to recommend the approval of our student code of conduct for 2016-17.
Have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of approval of the code of conduct.
I'll make a comment real quick.
Let's make a motion and then we'll have a comment time. A motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the board?
I just want to thank you for on these kinds of things. It's easy to do a top-down approach and just say, by golly, here's the way it is. And you and your staff elected not to do it that way. You collaborated with the principals. They're the ones that have to implement the policy. And you gave us a shot at it, and you got some questions as well. There's no absolute perfect policy when it comes to discipline, but your approach and the way it was handled and the final product is really, really good.
Thank you. Kudos to our leadership teams, our principals, and others who've been at the table with us. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Code of conduct is approved. You have before you child nutrition program meal price increases. Dr. Murphy?
Yes, I know we have Melinda Bonner, our director, with us, so should you have questions, I may pitch those out to her. We are making a recommendation in order to comply with the paid lunch equity calculation, which is required by the U.S. Department. We are having a price increase, or recommending a price increase. Currently, our elementary lunches are $2.10. The recommendation is to go to $2.25. The secondary lunch is $2.35. The recommendation is to go to $2.50. Our breakfast price will remain as is, which is $1.50, and the faculty staff lunch will be $3. It is my recommendation that you approve this, please.
I have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation to meal price increases.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments from the board?
Belinda, where are you? Are you here? How's participation? And typically over the years, it tends to decline, so you've got a fixed cost that has to spread over a smaller audience. Are participation coming back, or is it?
Slowly, it is coming back. We've increased about 1% over the past 3 years, so no decline.
Good.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Questions, comments from the public? Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the price increase for meals, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to increase the price is approved. Have now a textbook surplus. Dr. Murphy?
I would like to recommend that we declare as surplus our off-adoption textbooks. All of the books that we are proposing to you are in excess of 10 years of age. Generally, we keep textbooks about 6 years, but because of recession, we kept many of those longer. Obviously, in declaring those surplus items, we'll either try to recycle or found other educational entities to which we'll donate. But I would like to declare those as surplus, and you see a list of those textbooks.
Have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of the approval of surplus textbooks.
So moved.
Have a second. Have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments from the board? Questions, comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Next, we have a list of buses to be declared as surplus. Dr. Murphy?
Recommendation to declare as surplus 20 buses. 4 of those buses are 1999 year. 7 of them are 2000, year 2000. 8 of them are 2001, and 1 bus is 2002. I would remind the board that any bus aged older than 10 years, we get no reimbursement from the State Department. And these buses are not used by us or needed by us at this time. Would like to declare them as surplus.
Do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of the approval of surplus buses?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Dr. Murphy, would you explain to everyone how the disincentive behind taking care of your buses regardless of the mileage? And it's part of the overall underfunding for transportation. You know, the whole 10-year thing about having nothing for the bus.
And Jeremy is with us too, so let me defer to Jeremy also.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Jeremy? There's a disincentive from the state to do good with your buses, basically what it is.
The way the funding from the state works, they, actually this year, they provided $6,300 per year per bus for buses that are on approved routes. All of our buses are on approved routes. So as we go along, new bus is around $80,000. As long as the buses are not over 10 years of age, we will receive that money over a 10-year period of time. So we actually get $63,000 for a bus that will cost us around $79,000.
Plus
So
mileage.
it isn't, yes, sir, plus mileage, and we have a fuel charge also that they reimburse us on. I think the legislature approved this year $2.89 for fuel. So as long as we stay under that, we're actually making money on fuel surcharge. As long as we can get back in the program, you and Dr. Murphy will work, and I think within 4 years, if we can buy 10 buses a year, within 4 years, we'll be back fully funded under all of our buses will be receiving state.
And board members, I would also remind you that we get about 78 to 79 cents per dollar reimbursed back from the state. So our transportation obviously has a local cost to us.
Any questions from the board? Questions, comments from the public? No more questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is approved. We'll now hear about tax renewal resolutions. Dr. Murphy?
Yes, I'd like to defer this moment to Whit Colvin, our attorney. I believe that he will introduce our tax attorney, but Whit, I'll turn to you.
Thank you. Members of the board, Dr. Murphy, I came and presented to you, it's been about a month ago maybe, to talk about the tax renewals, that initiative that's being planned for this fall in conjunction with the general election. There are some things that we have to do to get ready for that. One of the first things I do is defer to true subject matter experts when it comes to the technical aspects of tax renewals. They are they're highly technical. They're structured in a certain way, and there are very few in this city that have more expertise in that than the gentleman who's here with us tonight, Hayward Hush from Maynard Cooper. Hayward is working with Jefferson County, who's sort of the mother school district on this initiative when it comes to the renewal, and so he's been kind enough to offer assistance to the Hoover City Schools as well, and to work with me on that. And so I would love for him to explain to you exactly how this works, and he's drafted resolutions for your consideration tonight, and without further ado, I'll defer to Hayward. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Whit. Very kind, very kind. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the board, it's a pleasure to be here with you and be of service to the board in this matter. I did have a small handout, perhaps follow along if you all make notes on it or just look at it if we walk through it. Not extensive, but perhaps helpful to see what we're doing. Very good. All right. First thing to talk here would be the actual what taxes we're talking about. You'll notice these are the existing taxes in Jefferson County. that are expiring. There are no Shelby County taxes now that are up for renewal, so this is solely the part of Hoover in Jefferson County that we're talking about, okay? The Shelby County taxes have much longer levies at this point, okay? So these are the three that are subject to renewal, a vote this coming fall. You'll see two in the county, sorry, okay? 2 in the county and then 1 in the city. Of course, the 2 county ones are in the city as well. Okay, you the guy? Okay. All right, and this is what is proposed, the proposed continuation and renewal. If you'll notice, the tax rates are going to be identical. So there's no new tax, there's no new increase in tax rate, there's no decrease in tax rate. They'll be exactly the same and levied in the same place. The period of renewal will be about 25 years from the current expiration. So you'll see the new expiration date would be October 1, 2046. That'd be the last day of collection. So the levy would be 2045, collected 2046. This gives you really the maximum period permitted by law. So it will, ensure local funding to at least that date for the benefit of the board. Any questions at any point, let me know. This gives you a picture of kind of what's at stake. Now this is Jefferson County only. You have an existing levy of 46.1 mills in Jefferson County. 21.4 expires. That's a little over 46%, almost half your millage rate really coming up, expiring in 2021. So this is the time that it is customary for school boards to begin the renewal process. I should add at this point the vote requirement. The 2 county taxes will be voted on county-wide, so they have to pass county-wide. The 2.1 mil, back to screen. Okay, good. The 2.1 mil tax will require a 61% vote in favor. The other two, the 5.4 and the 13.9, will require 51%. So they're bare majority. The 2.1 mil tax is a very old tax. It goes back to 1901 Constitution, just has a higher threshold for vote. The county taxes will be voted countywide. The 13.9 mil tax will be voted only in Hoover. Okay. If there are any questions at any point, just let me know. The election date that the boards in the county agreed upon will be the general election this fall, November 8, 2016. Okay, Board of Education action. A lot of it takes place on the formal side just tonight. Under the law, the city board, you all, will adopt a resolution approving a request of the county commission to call the election for the renewal of those taxes on the terms that we've set out. Same rate, exact same tax, 25-year extension from the current expiration to go to 2046. Of course, that's if the board so pleases. That's about all you have to do. Next. We will, in conjunction with all the other boards in the county, present these to the county commission, and they'll be required by law at that point to hold the election. The county will provide for the election this November. And then we'll handle the notice for you. And if there's anything else that comes up that the board needs to do, we'll certainly let you know. We'll keep you apprised the entire time of how things are going. Vote canvass will take place, of course, a few days after the election. So, other than that, getting everybody to vote yes and passing the resolution is all we need to go over.
Would you share with us the benefit of doing this now? I've had some who've said to me, that's 5 years away, what's the rush? Share that with us if you would.
In a case like this, you've got a lot that are countywide, so there'll be an election anyway on those. So it helps for while you're advertising the election and talking to people about it, just go ahead and get your district work done as well. It has been long a policy in the state to do renew school taxes well before they expire, sometimes for credit rating purposes, because you need that assured source of funding. Some systems need to make capital improvements for which they need to finance over a long period of time. And with the tax that's expiring in 5 years, you can't use it for that purpose. It's pretty much useless to you now. Now, for operating expenses, it's not, but for long-term, using it for long-term capital improvements, you really can't, starting about now. Plus, if things go right, there are things that happen, you don't want to leave yourself no chance. If by some reason there need to be a second election, you need to have time for that. So it's long been the practice to do this, and of course, every other board in the county is involved at this point, so hopefully that answered the question. But this is quite customary, and it's been done. The last ones we did, which you all were involved in, which was Shelby County, when they renewed their district and their county-wide, of course, which you participated in. That was done in 2011 for taxes expired in 2017. So even in Hoover, this is not unusual at all. Your very last time this happened, you were about 5 or 6 years out. If that is so.
With credit rating, capital planning in particular.
Capital planning in particular, fail-safe, and, and of course, at this time, joining with all the other boards. Kind of, it is countywide, not just you all.
Any questions for Mr. Hodge from the board? From the public?
How much money comes in from these taxes, sir? How much?
I don't know how much.
The city is
I've
about
seen-
37 million just for the city portion. I think
Well, Dr. Murphy has that covered in our next PowerPoint slide about our local funding.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Case in Middlebrooks, 2395 Abbey Glen Circle. Do you know the exact language that will be on the ballot concerning the referendum?
Yes, I do. It's actually the same language that's in the resolution that the board has in front of tonight.
And that will be posted to our website, Dr. Middlebrooks, as soon as the meeting is
It's
over.
not phrased as a ballot, but it has the actual subject matter in it. Yes.
It's clear that it's a renewal and not
Absolutely.
any new tax.
Yeah, it's in the heading, renewal and continuation, which you've seen, and then in the body as well. Yeah, it is described. It is. This is solely a continuation. There's status quo.
For those resolutions, Ed. Mary, would you get the next one? We're going to pull those resolutions up, and Board, I'm going to ask for your review and make a recommendation. Board members, I would like to recommend your approval of resolution number 2016-4. This is a resolution approving the filing with Jefferson County Commission of a written request for a special 2.1 mil county school tax election in Jefferson County associated with our November election.
Do I have a motion to approve superintendent's recommendation of the approval of a tax renewal resolution number 2016-04?
So moved.
No second? Any questions from the board?
Firstly, I'd like to just point out, and it was brought up just now, this is a renewal. I know we keep saying that over and over. It is extremely important that this get continued. And it's not just to continue the funding, as you got brought up here. It secures our bond rating. We're talking, right now, the bond ratings are very, very favorable right now. You've read about it in the paper with the Brexit. Our bonds over here are very favorable to us. So as we negotiate these bonds, this is like a long-term equity to issue these bonds. So there's a lot of reasons here that this is very important. We need your help. If you're against it, let us know and let's talk about it. How many people go in there and they see an amendment or they see a resolution, they don't know what it is, they don't vote on it. Please talk to your friends. Thank you.
No questions, comments from the board? Questions, comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 2016-04 is approved. Dr. Murphy?
Board members, as Mr. Hosh shared with us, there are 3 different taxes. So resolution number 2016-5, this is a resolution approving the filing with Jefferson County Commission of a written request for a special 5.4 mil county school tax election in Jefferson County on November the 8th.
I have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of the approval of the tax renewal resolution number 2016-05.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments from the board? Questions, comments from our public? All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution number 2016-05 is approved. Dr. Murphy?
And lastly, board members, resolution number 2016-06. This is a resolution approving the filing with Jefferson County Commission of a written request for a special 13.9 mil district school tax with the election November the 8th.
I have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of approval of the tax renewal resolution number 2016-06.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the board?
Just one point. Mr. Hodge, to your point, I don't see anything in here that reflects anything about it being an extension or the existing tax. So Craig's point about clarifying that to people is important, because when I were to walk up and see that on the ballot, I'm going, whoa, you know? Because it does not say a continuation of the existing tax or anything. Maybe I misinterpreted it.
No, I'm actually glad you asked, because I was thinking about standing up saying something. You're not looking at the ballot, you're looking at the resolution.
Okay.
See, that's what this is saying, is the board authorizes and directs the filing with the commission of a request for this, okay? The actual form of the request is on the next page, so if we can.
I don't think it's there. What I was
We'll
getting
post that.
Oh, okay, we'll go back to the other one. Let's go back to the previous one.
one.
Well, I thought I saw it. Is it just resolution?
Yeah, they're just
Oh, okay. All right, well, the attachment, the actual request itself has the ballot language in it. You have the, you know, may not have it there. Let me just- I wish we could get it up on the screen if I can see it, because it is, okay.
And we will post that this evening, Brian, right?
Yes, I guess so.
May I just hand this to you?
Case is one
Pardon me, formality. This is pretty much, this is the actual request that follows that resolution. Here's where the ballot starts. And if you'll see, it does speak of term continuation, and then it's the actually says it is not a new tax.
I'm fine, I'm just trying to stick to cases.
Well, it's good, there it is.
Thank you.
Okay, if, well,
Is that what we're looking for?
yeah, I think so. Let's go back up. That's a good question. If you look at the third line that begins November 8, 2016, to determine whether, at the word whether, that's really the language of the ballot. And then on, that's what the ballot will say.
To continue.
That's how it works.
I get it.
We'll need
It
to
says
make
it
sure our
does not
public
increase,
gets it.
But in renewal and continuation, yeah, it's very important that we put that in there. And then actually, the top of the ballot will say renewal and continuation of. So it's, does that answer your?
Yes, thanks.
Yes, sir. That tracks the ballot.
Any questions from the board?
Well, I just think it's really important that, and I know we've had conversations about this as far as getting this information out to our schools and letting our schools run with this, because I know they will.
Questions, comment from the public? All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution number 2016-06 is approved. Dr. Murphy will now give the superintendent's report.
Before I give the superintendent's report, I'd like to acknowledge a couple of people, board members. I'm extremely disappointed because you allowed 2 of our people to retire, and I thought I had you ready to disapprove those retirements. But I do want to acknowledge 2 people who've done a terrific job in the school district. Dr. Barbara Mayer, would you stand? Dr. Mayer has a total of 44 years in education. 28 of her years have been in Hoover City Schools. Dr. Mayer served as an elementary teacher, a resource reading teacher, a guidance counselor, learning support specialist, a supervisor, coordinator, and director of instructional support. Dr. Mayer came to us from Ohio, I believe, moved to Hoover about 40 years ago, was employed first in Tarrant City, spent 11 years there. In 1987, the city of Hoover actually paid your salary, I understand, for you to start a counseling program in the elementary schools, and this was a new initiative and certainly new for the state of Alabama. She's been in our central office as an administrator since our district opened in 1988 and served as a specialist, a supervisor, and coordinator and director of our instructional support since 2004. Dr. Mayer has coordinated support services in the area of special education and counseling and gifted, enrichment, English limited learners, speech pathology testing, behavioral intervention, and much, much more. She's loved by teachers. She served this school district well, has made such terrific contributions to all of us. And Dr. Mayer, we wish you the absolute very best in your retirement. Thank you for your service to our children.
This is my husband. He thought we would never get here. This is Chris. We've been married, 43 years, and been here 40 of those years. He brought me a hanky. Hoover is my love, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Served us well. Louise White, would you stand up? Louise has been with us for 23 years here in Hoover City Schools. She served as a clerical aide, as a registrar, as a central office secretary, student services office manager, also as the administrative assistant to the superintendent and the be-all, do-all for Kathy Murphy. I'm so grateful to Louise. She began working in the office at Trace Crossings Elementary School in August of 1993. Was also at South Shades Crest Elementary School when it opened 2 years later, transferred there, worked as a registrar for 6 years. In 2001, Louise transferred to the central office where she worked in special education and student services. She served as the administrative assistant to the superintendent the past 4 years. She will be hugely missed by the school district and by this superintendent. Louise, thank you for your service. That was the fun part. Now we're going to talk money. Have you up ready? So if our board would just give us an opportunity, you have before you a copy of our PowerPoint. Last time we did a presentation, I couldn't see the screen, and I came behind the podium, and there was no light, and I struggled that entire presentation. So if I have to, I'm going to crawl right up here on this thing to make sure that I get this right for us tonight. It's really a privilege for me to talk to you about our school district. And I want to talk about our children. I want to talk about our finances. I want to talk about our future with you this evening. And so I want to get just right to almost the bottom line conversation that many people might have about our school district. And that is, let's talk about bank balances and investments. And this is of May 2016 with our reconciled statements. And so the cash that we had on hand at that point in time was $105,008,229. The investments that we had as of May 2016, $14,845,506, for a total of $119,853,735. I want you to know exactly where that money lives and resides, and so we have money at Bryant Bank. You see that $5.6 million. We have money in Regent, $6.1 million. BB&T cash on hand, $108 million, and investment accounts and CDs, $14 million, and that accounts for the $119,853,735. And that sounds pretty terrific, right? But let's talk about the other side of the house, and that is we have current debt. And so when you look at our debt, we have warrants and bonds. We have three. We have a capital outlay tax warrant that was initiated in 2005, a refinance bond in 2010, and another refinance bond in 2012. You see the expiration dates on those particular bonds. There's nothing we can do with the 2010 or with the 2012 because it's been refinanced too currently for us to revisit that. The only one for which we are now giving thought and attention, and with rates being what they are, is to look at that very first one, which is our capital outlay tax warrant. Please notice that in this column we have our annual current payments. Please note that at this current time we're paying interest only on this capital outlay tax warrant. We have not even started the process of paying toward that principal. For our second refinance bond, we are paying $7.9 million annually, and this is including principal and interest. And then on our third refinance bond, we are paying interest only, have not yet started the principal, and that's $2.3 million. That is tough enough, but as we begin to look forward, it gets a little tougher for us carrying the load. So in the year 2026, and you know, we could take the position that, well, we'll be walking on the porch by then, but I think our job as leaders and as good stewards is that we're not just thinking about today, but that we're thinking forward. We're thinking about those who will come after us and what we're leaving behind. And so when we think about that, in 2026, this particular tax warrant alone will cost us $9.1 million. Now again, this is annual, and again, this one very well may be able to be refinanced, and based on the research that we're currently doing, it looks as if we might be able to refinance that and save about $1.7 million, and $1.7 million's nothing to, you know, to ignore. When we look at the increased payment, 2028 annually, we'll be paying $10.7 million for this particular bond. And in the year of 2018, which is not so far around the corner, we'll be paying $6.7 million annually for this particular bond. So when we look in the column of our outstanding, the amount that's outstanding, please know that on this particular warrant we owe $14,615,000. We owe $109,055,000, and we owe another $51,915,000, for a total of what we owe $175,585,000. So it seemed important for us to say, okay, how does that look in comparison to what we have to what we owe? And so what we did is to take a look at what is our debt to our cash balance and our investment ratios. No, this is not talking about other assets such as buildings and buses and equipment, but this is a comparison of what do we owe to what cash balance and investments we just shared with you. And so what we have is we have a debt of over $175 million, and what we have in terms of cash balance and investments is at $119 million. So if we were to look at that difference, we are a negative $55 million when we look at what we have in cash and investments and what our long-term debt with bonds happens to be. I also want to share with you that, as you know, we have three sources of funds. We have the federal revenue that comes to us, we have state revenue that comes to us, we have local revenue that comes to us. Let me just share with you how sometimes people look at a sheet of paper and they'll say to us, that's not what you told us last time. That's not what I went and looked up at the State Department and saw. And here's a perfect example of something that I want to make you so aware of, and particularly to you board members, and that is when I study and we study the financial sheets from the State Department of Education, we have to be really, really careful that we're looking at the federal revenue. Was that with or without any carryover money from the previous year? When we're looking at state revenue, did they already put our 10 mil match into that state revenue, or did they already subtract that state revenue out, or our matching funds out? When we're looking at our local funds and we report to you, is that because the match has already gone out to the state, or is that an amount where the state is still in our coffers? I say that to say to you, I get it. You know, statistics don't lie, but statisticians do. There's never any attempt on our part to be statisticians who lie. But I want you to always be very thoughtful about how are we reporting things, and please don't draw conclusions that that's not what I saw the last time. Please ask the critical questions. It may be with a carryover, or it may be because we've already pulled out our match to get the foundation money. Remember, we have to do a 10 mil match in order to bring that money to us. So just as we look at what happened in FY 2015, we have 13,892.40 children. That's our average daily membership. And when we look at that, here's the money that we had for FY 15. We had $6.5 million that came to us from federal revenue. That did not include carryover money from FY 2014. Carryover money means this. In 2014, we didn't quite spend all of our federal money, so we didn't lose all that money. It goes back into the coffers, but then it gets to come back out to you in what's called a carryover amount. And so if you don't spend all of your money, if we don't spend all of our money in FY 16, federal money, we'll be able to carry some of that money over to 17. From the state revenue, does not include our 10 mil match. It's not in that amount at this point. $69.9 million is what we get from state revenue. And then when we look at our local revenue, this includes our 10 mil match. Hasn't gone anywhere yet. It's still in our funds, if you will, and our local revenue was $86.1 million. So other revenue, $1.4 million. This might be examples of other revenue. I think there's some mileage reimbursement from the schools. So there are various and sundry things that fall here, and certainly we can give you other examples should you need those. But for FY 2015, we had a total of $164 million that came to us from those three sources of funds. So let's talk a little bit more about local funding. This is a very busy slide, and I get it, and I won't go cell for cell or row for row or column for column. But what we wanted to share with you is that we do get a 24 mil tax, and we wanted you to be able to see what that looks like over time, and so we share that with you all the way to what did we have here as of May 2016. We also wanted to share with you the sales tax and the allocation that we get from our city council. And we'll talk just a minute about this amount. Jefferson County, there's 22.1 mills, and you see what that means to our school district. Shelby County is 22 mills. You see the amounts of money there. You see the total amounts. And let's just use 2015, just looking at that total, was $69.3 million. In this particular case, we are doing better in FY 2015 than we did in 2014 to the tune of about $3.1 million. Please notice, though, that as early ago or as late ago, as whichever way we want to say that, in 2011 compared to 2010, we were 2.2 million less than. So there are some variables and factors here that can move on us at any given time. And please know that this presentation will be posted after this meeting tonight. I realize some of you may not be able to see a thing back there in the back. I apologize for that, but you will have this visual this evening. So let's talk about the support from the City of Hoover. As you all know, we receive $2 million annually from the City of Hoover. We paid $868,638.52 back to the city for the SROs in FY 2015. In 2016-17, the City of Hoover will provide all funding for the SROs. I want to thank the city for that decision. That'll leave us with $800,000+. We will have to pay the city FY 2016. So this is FY 17, so we're still going to owe the city, as I understand it, for SRO officers for this last academic year that we finished in May. So we will have to plan for that as we're talking about our budgets. I also want to acknowledge and I'm grateful for the fact that we have $1,500 front door fees that was approved by our city council in December. And when we look at the permits that have been issued, and I just backed up the last 3 years to look at the permits that's been issued, it'll be a bit less, prediction now, probably a bit less than $500,000, about $500,000 would be a sort of estimate closest that I can give you at this time. Well, this is another busy slide, but this is simply nothing more than sharing with you property or ad valorem tax and taking a look at that over a long term. How has this looked since 2005 through 2016? And again, I want to show you this change column because the thing that's difficult for all of us, perhaps personally in our budgets, and certainly no different when we're talking about school districts, is there are some things we just can't control for. And many of us know what happened during the recession and the impact that it had for us over several subsequent years that followed. And so 2011 particularly was impactful to us with a loss of about $1.2 million in terms of a change from the prior year. But this gives you an opportunity to see what does that ad valorem look like for us as a school district. We thank you again for sharing with us, Mr. Hosh, about the renewal for the Jefferson County tax. I'll not spend a lot of time with this. This is the conversation that we had just a few minutes ago when it was last voted for, last levied, last collected. And what does that amount look like? And so I believe this was one of the questions that we had when this, and by the way, we have 9,476 students that reside in Jefferson County. Obviously, we have some children in Shelby and some children in Jefferson. Most of our children are in Jefferson County. And so from this number is important to us as we're looking at what we get in return. So the 2.1 mil countywide, 1.9 million is what that means to the school district. The 5.4 mil countywide is a 5.1 million impact to us. And the 0.7 mil is almost $665,000 impact to us, with an overall total of 7.7 million is how important this was to us from the Jefferson County tax. The renewal of the Jefferson County District 66 tax. Again, we just wanted to share with you when it was last voted, levied, the last collection. And what does that 13.9 mil mean to us, that district tax? $13,647,000 is what it means to us. So again, may I say to you how important the renewal, let's say that together, renewal, how important that renewal of taxes really is to our children, to our school district. The renewal of the Shelby County, we're in a good place, so we'll spend little to no time other than to simply say to you that what we'll be thoughtful about, we'll all be here, right, 2041? So we'll just start planning forward because we're in a good place for the Shelby County tax. And this is the District 2 tax. But I do think it's important, and I would like to back up. Please understand that that Shelby County tax is important to us, $4.8 million. So, and also the District 2 tax that comes out of Shelby County to the tune of about $3.2 million. So all of that Shelby County, Jefferson County tax renewal are always critical to us and our success financially. And then we had the renewal of the city tax. Remember, we spoke just a minute ago of a 24 mil city tax. Again, we are in a good place in terms of the longevity of that. The last collection on that will be in 2046. What did that mean to us in 2015? $21.6 million from the 14 mil and 15.4 from the 10 mil for a total of what that city renewal, that city tax means to us of $37.1 million. Very, very important to us. 24 mil. And so what are some of the factors that's impacting our local fund allocations? Well, there are a lot of conversations that we could have here. By the way, there are a lot of weeds we can get into. You know, we could probably stop at any one slide and spend a 15, 30-minute conversation. I certainly, board, want to address any questions you have tonight. If there are questions we can't answer, we'll research. But in some of these slides, we just try to hit some of the high points. I'm sure factors impacting us could have been much lengthier, for example, than we have here. But let me share with you. We pay our employees over the state minimum salary schedule. That's when you should clap. Because our teachers deserve it. But because of the respect and the value that we hold for our teachers and the fact that we pay them above the minimum salary schedule, guess what? The estimated additional cost over the state teacher salary schedule cost us out of local money, not money that comes from the state, from our local coffers. We pay an extra $7 million to our teachers to do the terrific job that they do for us, to teach our children. That's an investment we've made. It's a commitment we've made. We're not embarrassed about that. We're proud of the fact that we're paying our teachers well. We're paying our personnel well to be a part of our family. The estimated annual cost of supplements and stipends, and I just want to define, supplements are in addition to an employee's base salary. We have athletic supplements. We have yearbook supplements. We have all kinds of supplements. What is a stipend? A stipend is an incentive to participate. Give me an example of a stipend, incentive to participate. We talked about it today, but my head's confused.
Required professional development.
Professional development is probably our best example of that. So if our teachers will participate in some professional development, there certainly may be opportunities for them to receive a stipend for that. What did that look like for us in FY 2015? We paid $1.5 million out in terms of supplements and stipends to our personnel. The estimated cost of the 2 to 4% pay increase for all of our employees. Good time for you to clap again. We're proud that our folks are getting. But because we pay above the minimum salary schedule, that means that we're paying 2 to 4% up against that increased above the minimum. So that pay increase is going to cost us from local money again. It's going to cost us $2.3 million just to meet the 2 and 4% pay increase that the legislators passed, because we're not going to give it to them on the minimum salary schedule. We're giving it to them on the salary schedule that we've set for them. I will tell you that we've had some reduction in personnel, and we've had reduction or modifications in some of our programs, and that has saved us about $2.1 million from this last academic year to moving in forward to this upcoming academic year. $2.1 million. But guess what just happened to that $2.1 million? It just was absorbed plus another $200,000 if you wanted to do the subtraction. We have a number, the number of full-time equivalent. If you ever hear a reference to FTEs, that's full-time equivalent certified, not talking about support, certified positions over the state allocation. In FY 2016, we had 220. Now this is where we sometimes get a spanking. Why in the world do you have all of these extra above and beyond? You have more teachers than you need and more personnel than you need. You're so above what the state allocates for you. I'm going to say it pretty simply. I think the fact that we can offer extensive electives, that we can have smaller classrooms, is part of what makes Hoover Hoover. It's part of what makes this a terrific school district. Now, if my charge from you, board, was I need you to get on the skinny, then, yes, we would have to look at, bringing this into what the state allocates for us. By the way, I've worked in school districts where we did that. If you earned 500 teachers, you didn't have 501, you had 500. And if you could cheat and have $4.99 and keep one of those teachers' money, I saw a few principals in school districts try to do that too, or superintendents. But we do have more than is allocated to us by the state. I'm not embarrassed by that. I don't apologize to you for that. I think it's significant, I think it's important, and I think it makes us who we are. Though you will see in a slide in a few minutes, we have cut a little bit of that. Commitment to technology. We believe we ought to be a 21st century community. We are Hoover. If that sounds arrogant, then that's okay. We believe that we ought to be a part of the 21st century. We've made significant commitments to technology, and this guy never stops wanting more, right? He's actually great. But we have made we've made some tremendous investments in technology, and we'll show you a slide in just a minute that'll explain that further for you. I know that not everybody clapped and jumped up and down about my proposal to sell the Old Berry High School. I want to acknowledge that that was a painful process for us to put on the table. Many of you had personal connections to that location. I remember when we tore down the tiny tot building in Butler County. That little building had a smell. And it was special to me because that's where I went to elementary school. And I remember the day they pulled the wrecking ball in. It was painful and it hurt. But times change, progress happens, you move forward, and here we are. And our board did approve this. This is still pending and waiting for some additional conversations and hopefully finalizing some things. Whit and I have had a conversation about this week with the Department of Justice and LDF, and hopefully this will mean $11 million to the coffers of our school district. And by the way, we'll also, in terms of some additional savings to the school district, we paid $90,642 in utilities on that building, not yesterday, last year, and therefore another savings. What else impacts local funding? Well, we saw some of it. There are variables in sales taxes. There's variables in the ad valorem, new home construction. There's been approval for new homes, and I'll share with you in just a minute some additional impact this will have. And factors impacting us are obviously any allocations from our city council. So, just quickly, another busy slide. We won't sponge all of this up, but this was 2015's local revenue that was available to us. I wanted you to just see again the ad valorem revenue for 2015, the sales tax for a total of $68.2 million. I want you to know that we have to put $14.2 million as a match. In order to get money out of the foundation from the state, we have to give them some money to get some money, is probably the simplest way I can say that. And so we gave up $14.2 million in order to get money from the state, and we'll share with you that amount from the state. We also spent $10.8 million in debt services in 2015. Remember, that's about to go up pretty heftily as we continue to move forward. The amount remaining after our 10 mil match in our debt services, we had $43.1 million available to us in revenue. And the amount remaining per pupil would give us about $3,104, the capacity to invest another $3,104 in our students based on the revenue, local revenue that we had. And really it puts us in an enviable position when you look at us against the state, because we are fourth in the state in terms of our ability to have discretionary monies left over from local in order to invest in our children. And that too is important to making us who we are. This out of 136 school districts, we're fourth in our ability to invest monies into our children. Only 3 other school districts in front of us investing more money in their children, or capacity to invest more money in their children than we are here in Hoover. Talk a minute about budgets. Busy slides, but this does give you an opportunity to see budget projected revenues that we projected in our budgets for 2012 through 15. Allows you an opportunity to see the actual revenue that we had for each of those years. You know, how well did we do over or under our budget in terms of what we projected revenue and what we actually had in revenue. Then we also have our budget projected expenditures, and then what were our actual expenditures and how well did we do with that in terms of over or under. I have to point out to you 2015 is when we did a bond refinancing. So that $66.5 thousand of revenue actually immediately came over, I'm losing my pointer, immediately came over and was debt reduction, that $60,873. But what I want you to also see, I might be losing it fast here with the pointer. Can you get me? I actually have another one, I think. What do we do in education? come prepared, right? Okay, so the use of our reserve funds, this is perhaps the most important column for you to tend to at this moment in time. How much are we dipping into any reserve monies that we have in order to sustain our academic years? In 2012, we went $9.5 million into our reserve funds. In 2013, we went $10.2 million in. In 2014, we went $7.8 million. And in 2015, we went $1.3 million. Now, we projected 2015 to be much more significant than that, and we were actually criticized because that's not what you told us, that's not what you reported, must be something a little hokey going on. And so I want to make sure that you understand what hokey was going on. And so our budget to 2015 actual variance review. When you look at the expenditures in FY 2015, they exceeded our revenues by $1.3 million. We expected it to be more than that. The approved budget had projected us to spend $9.84 million more than the revenue received. That's a difference of $8.45 million. And because we deferred some projects, we did have some unexpected income, BP money, some other things came our way, and some less than anticipated costs. We had over-projected the cost of utilities. Our actual was better than we anticipated. And I just want to give you some examples. We saved, or some examples of the impact. $1.4 million was deferred from capital projects. Did we perhaps need to invest that money in some of our buildings? I have some principals that chew me out regularly about doing some things, and they're right. We need to invest our money. Capital projects are out there, and we need to tend to them. We deferred purchasing some buses. We had some savings on utilities. We had some costs that were, as it related to personnel. We had some less than anticipated costs for technology. VP settlement money came in. We had some additional money we didn't expect from E-rate that came to us. And then we had a favorable adjustment at the end, year-end accrual for salaries. And we'll get in the weeds and talk and explain any of that should you need us to do so. But I wanted you to understand why we anticipated one thing, which was that we would have a $9.84 million greater expenditure than revenue, and yet we were able to keep that to the 1.39. Just an explanation of why that was so significantly different. So let's talk about fund balance. Let's talk about, you could perhaps think of fund balance in terms of our whole pot of revenue to include any of our investments. So what's happened to us? Well, in 2006, we had not yet gotten the Jefferson County monies, right? The 1 cent bond monies that came to us in 2007. So at that time, we were at 80, and this is in millions, we were about $80 million in our fund balance. Wow, how nice it was to receive that one-time amount of money. Some things are blessings and curses, but nevertheless, here we are. We topped out a little over 140, probably about 150 in our fund balance in 2007. But may I invite you to see what has happened since that period of time. We have continued to decrease our fund balance over time.
It's the angle. It's working.
Is it my angle?
It's just the
okay,
angle.
let me try to do better.
There you go.
Oh, there we are. Perfect. So please note where we were in 2006 is exactly where we are.
Well, it should be.
Told a story. Please note where we are in 2016 is exactly where we started out in 2006. For all of those who believe we have coffers and coffers and coffers filled with money, with reserves on top of reserves, and have no idea what to do with all that cash, may I tell you that money has been spent. And may I tell you that money has been spent on children. It has been invested in children. And so, yeah, this was great. Please know where we are at this current time. So just a quick historical review. Again, you see 2007, which was our nice little spike there with the Jefferson County monies. We simply show you this. The blue line is our revenue stream. And the red line is our reoccurring expenditures. It does exclude our capital. And basically what we're just trying to show you is that we're trying our very best to keep our revenues and our expenditures as close to home with each other as possible. But it does deviate. You have some years where you do okay and other years that you don't. In my own personal budget, I didn't expect this last month that my HVAC system was going down at my home. Happens at my house. There are things that happen in school districts that you didn't see coming, but you nevertheless have to pay the bill for. And so you're going to have those things that happen to us. Let me share with you Hoover City Schools legal fees. So we talked about being transparent, right? So let's be transparent. So our total legal fees in FY 2015 was $271,769. So you can just take a gasp. However, I would share with you that per pupil we were investing about $20 per child into the legal matters of this school district as it related to the conversations we had to have. You all understand, I hope you understand, board members, that you understand that when you have hearings, when you have due process, when you have those challenges, we have to meet those. And so, again, we've been thoughtful and we will always be frugal, but I'll just tell you, we live in a litigious society and we need to get the legal side of the house right and are grateful for the people who serve us in that capacity. We're 36th in terms of spending on legal fees compared to 132. Some of these are out of 132, some of them are out of 136, and we try to give you that so that you'll see where we rank. We said we'd talk to you a minute about technology. So in 2008, we were supporting 2,900 devices. In 2016, we're supporting over 17,000 devices, technology devices. In 2013 was when for our 9th through 12th graders, we purchased iPads. We really came under the gun and took a lot of criticism because we bought iPads in 2013. And in 2015, we went to the Chromebooks. And I think people thought we bought all of these iPads here and decided we didn't like them, so let's go run through them all out in the warehouse and not use them. That is not what happened. So for the iPads that were purchased here, we made a transition to Chromebooks, and the iPads that had been purchased went to our K through 2 students. So from kindergarten forward, we provided opportunities for our technology. This wasn't one of those whims, we like iPad this year, no, we don't like that anymore, let's go to Chromebooks. It was, there was thought to that process, and we were able to support our elementary children as a result of that decision making. Let's talk about the future. Little question mark. Well, to talk about the future, let me bounce back up 1 ounce, and that is, let me tell you about the enrollment in Hoover City Schools. When we started our school district, 1988, 1989, I believe we had 5 schools. We had 5,243 students. We now have 16 schools. We have 13,846 students. We have grown. We have grown every year by somewhere around 200 average in the last few years until this last year or two, and we've kind of leveled out. No significant growth as a school district in terms of enrollment of students. But that allows you just to see what's happened to us in 5-year increments over time. This is important. And again, realizing some of you can't see it, let me just share with you, in 2008, we had 12,397 students. And the revenue that we could spend per pupil that particular point in time was 13,715 children. A lot of money we could invest in a single child. But as time has occurred, our enrollment, as I shared with you in the first slide, or the slide a minute ago, has incrementally increased over time. So from 2008 to 2016, we're now up to 13,892 students. But where we were revenue per pupil at 13,715, we now have seen that continue to drop on us to we're now at $11,288 of revenue per pupil. The only thing I'm trying to show you here is that as we have more students come to us, if the revenue does not keep up with that, you have less money to invest into each of those children. So, housing developments that's impacting Hoover City Schools. Just a little historical basis. The existing homes in Hoover, our best reports, and I'll stand corrected should somebody have better numbers than me, but in conversing with our city, I believe these are correct. The existing homes in Hoover, we have 36,977 homes. That includes 10,946 multifamily dwellings. We have 1,484 townhomes. We have 23,963 single-family detached homes. And group quarters, this is nursing homes, and that's 584. And then when we look forward to what will be built over the next 15 years, the projection is based on permits and based on projected growth and construction and what our city council has already approved. There's 7,191 more constructions to take place, 408 of those being multifamily. There's nothing with permits right now for townhomes, 6,783 for single-family detached, and no plans for any group quarters. And just for your information, the way we determine the number of students that'll come from these homes, we take an average number of students per dwelling, which is 0.378, multiplied by our number of dwellings to be built. There's 7,191. So we're looking at about 2,700 students from this additional growth here. Or if you want to look at it another way, we take the average number of dwellings per student. So every 2.64 dwellings, you'll find a kid, and divide that into the number of dwellings to be built. Again, the 7,191 for 2,700 additional students. So we're anticipating, and again, this is growth. This is not next year or 5 years from now, but over the course of the next 15 years as these developments take place, more children are coming, and we're happy to have them. So let me tell you that we've already taken some actions this year to reduce cost. We've actually delayed filling some positions. We've just said, hey, let's hang on and tough it out. And we've done that in a number of situations, even some positions that would be considered central office. We should fill that pain too. We've actually terminated, dissolved some positions. We've reduced or modified some of our instructional programs. We've proposed the sale of O'Berry property, which would bring some revenue into us. We've delayed the state mandated pay increases until October 1. I can tell you that many among us, personnel-wise, were hopeful that that impact of the pay increase would come in play July 1. Many of our surrounding school districts did a July 1, but out of thoughtfulness to where we are financially, I would have loved for it to have been July 1. But we delayed that until that money actually comes to us from the state, and that is in our October 1 or our fiscal 17 year. We've renegotiated a number of vendor contracts and just said, we're not paying that. So we need to sit at the table and have some conversations about that. And we've not been rude, but we've not been reluctant to push back and just say, we can't do that. We've delayed some capital projects. I'm not proud of that. We have needs. We need to get with it. And we've purchased some digital textbooks when possible. And by the way, digital purchases cost less than the paperback purchases. And so in cases that's been productive for us. So where do we go from here? We need to consider further reductions of expenditures perhaps, and maybe perhaps as we do. And so let's talk about what some of that might look like. Please notice this word consideration. The teacher in me is coming out. Let's say consideration. Things we might consider. I didn't say this is what's going to happen. I'm just trying to be thoughtful about what things might be on the horizon as possibilities. Decreased personnel. 86% of our budget is personnel. We do have 220 certified employees above the state earned units from the last academic year. This isn't something we want to do, but this is a consideration. If you're going to reduce your budget, and if 86% of your budget is personnel, guess where you're going to get the greatest savings to come to you, and that's going to be in personnel. Decrease supplements and stipends. Change to a base amount, not percentages. We have a pretty complex, convoluted, and confusing process when we talk about supplements and stipends. And so we have supplements and stipends which are a percentage of someone's salary. It's not a percentage of their base. It gets bigger than that sometimes. So this whole area of supplements and stipends is going to have to be revisited by us. Do we have some flat rate supplements and stipends and get away from the percentage of a salary? Perhaps. We may need to give thought to decreasing discretionary funds to our schools. Now, I'm going to duck and dodge because I see principals in here, and this isn't a conversation they want us to have. But how can I possibly send money out to schools in terms of discretionary funds to them and then walk before the public and this board and ask you all to approve what I know is going to be a deficit budget? We're going to spend more money than we're going to bring revenue, and I want you to be okay with that while I'm giving money out the back door. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, principals who are in this room. I hope you understand. We want to support you. We want you to have discretionary money. You know, I want to send my daughter to Europe, but if I don't have the money to send her to Europe, I'm not going to pass the money to her to go to Europe, right? So, as your parent, if you will, you know, we want to be thoughtful about your needs, but it is a consideration that we may have to decrease the discretionary funds in some measure. Consider eliminating or further modifications of some of our instructional programs. What does that mean? I don't exactly know, but you know, we'll look at our programs, and we'll look at our people, and we'll look at our processes, and those are considerations. Consider eliminating second collaboration and planning periods at our middle and high schools. I know that's a hot topic. I know that that's a valued piece for our middle schools and high schools. I know there's great value in having those two planning periods in terms of the collaboration and the teaming and the planning that you're able to do instructionally. But we're kind of getting real and talking about what possibilities might be. Consider some further consolidation of bus routes. I want to give kudos to Jeremy. He came to me and said, I can consolidate and save us about 11 routes. I'm not talking about children sitting on top of each other and standing in the aisles. He's just been very thoughtful about how can we run some of our routes a little differently, put a few more students on our buses, and those are the kinds of things that we're looking for. Let's be smart and savvy with what our taxpayers give us. And then consider transition to a bring your own device. So we had our iPads. We are now using Chromebooks significantly. Maybe before our next tech initiative, it's not a big initiative where we're doing all the purchasing of that technology, but we embrace more our students bringing their own devices. And for those who can't, we find a way that we don't leave any child without adequate devices for being 21st century. Consider further reductions. We may need to look at reducing some of our travel costs, reduce the number of employees with school district phones. Some of this thing's inconsequential, but we're looking at all of it. Reduce the length of some of our contracts. Folks with 12 months may have to go to 10. With a 10, may have to go to a 9. Increase and enforce our facility use fees. I want to just take a moment with that just to say to you, we all want to be good stewards to each other. Our buildings belong to you. You're our public. You are our taxpayers. But when people use our building, there really is a cost to us. The utilities, the lights, things are running, and those costs are there. And so many times we just say, oh, it's okay. But we may have to tighten that up and say, yeah, there's a facility use fee, and you gotta pay it. Implement energy saving strategies. We should do this anyway, no brainer. Address students attending Hoover schools not living in the district. I'm going to just make an estimate, best guess for you. We talked about this briefly today. We know we have students who come out of district. We have, I think it's a compliment to us because sometimes folks will just misrepresent to get their kid in Hoover City Schools. And so while I don't necessarily applaud the misrepresentation, I am tickled that we're so great they want their kid to be here, right? And so I'm not going to tell you we don't have kids who are coming to us from out of district. I can tell you we have a department that looks at that every day, that much of their duties and responsibilities, Wayne Smith, Bob Lowry, are focused on helping us identify students who shouldn't be with us. And unfortunately, we tell those children and parents sometimes, you know, thank you for the compliment, but, you know, if you're not paying taxpayer, we don't say this to them, but the point is, if you're not paying taxes here, can you bring your kids here? Well, it isn't fair if they're not. So we have to be the heavy on that sometimes. Where do we go from here? We need to consider if we can't decrease enough of our expenditures, can we increase the revenue? It's kind of like losing weight. How do I lose weight? I have to burn more calories than I consume. If I want to have money, I have to spend less than I'm bringing in. And so this is the concept. So if we can't decrease enough from those expenditures, then how do we increase the revenue? Well, there's some federal grants out there, and I'll just say this with all due respect to which I can muster at this point. Federal grants are those situations where you just sell the farm to them because they're going to tell you what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And there are some good grants out there that we should give consideration to. Many of them have so many stipulations that it's much more an aggravation than it is worthy to us. But we will look at grants. The state, we need to look at some grants. We were able to start an arts program in a school district I was in because the state gave us the first $25,000 to start that program. So I'm not opposed to $25,000 art grants from the state if that's what we need to do to find some support. Here's some important things that all of us should do, and these are legislative. So this may be a little more state related, but I'm going to throw them in here. We need to be advocating for smaller divisors. This school district, I understand at the genesis of our process when we started the school district, the commitment was we wanted to have smaller classrooms. I have literally been in school districts where 31 children sat in an Algebra 1 class. Teach Algebra 1 to 31 freshmen and see how well that works for you. And so we want to advocate for smaller divisors because that gives us a smaller number of students to teacher ratio. We need to advocate for the protection of the Education Trust Fund. I'm going to use the word robbed. We have been robbed in the Education Trust Fund by various entities over time. And I am highly suspect that they may come visiting the Education Trust Fund again soon and very soon. I kind of like this one. I'd really love to have fully funded public education, or at least a little closer to fully funded. What locally can we do? Please, please let me ask you to advocate for the tax renewal. You saw that money. You saw what it means to us as a school district. Please carry your placards, buy your t-shirts, and tout the importance of this tax renewal for us. Additional support from the citizens of Hoover, from our city council. Hoover City Schools Foundation. We look forward to continuing to collaborate with them in positive and productive ways. The best economic plan that this city can have is to invest in our children. I believe that as public education goes, so goes this community. And lastly, I would say to you that I believe, as Lyndon Johnson said many years ago, we believe that education is not an expense. We believe it's an investment. And it's time for us to step up and invest our money and our time and our energies productively in the lives of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. And again, this presentation will be available on our website at the conclusion of our meeting. For many years, as a board, we've heard the phrase that we just continue to kick this thing down the road. As you saw on the slide about how far we're going into our deficits each year, that hadn't changed in the 4 years I've been on this board. I'm glad we've got some leadership that sees that needs to change. It needs to change as soon as it can. So thank you, Dr. Murphy, for what you're doing for our students. Do you have any new business for us?
I do not.
No new business. Our next regular board meeting will be held on August the 8th at 5:30. The board will now convene to executive session to hear a disciplinary hearing. Do I have a motion to meet for executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion is approved. It is 7:10. We anticipate the hearing to last about an hour. We will take a 15-minute recess and then begin the hearing. Again, thank you for being here. We are adjourned.